7.
Hello, everybody. Here we are. It is the Flipping Bunch on a Wednesday evening. And I will start with my introduction and we'll go around the clock. And if LaVon is here, she can. Oh, she's here. Okay. All right. I am Dar Patulski and I have diys-by-dar. And I'm on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. And I am a furniture artist that does various different kinds of things, multimedia in my art, and it's a lot of fun. So who'd like to go next?
I'll go next. So I'm LaVon from Statement Designs. I too am a furniture artist, and I tend to lean towards maximalism like Dar does. As a matter of fact, we're both brand ambassadors for Made by Marley Decoupage Paper Company. I have a shop. I've had a shop open for 10 years. I used to be Le Vintage Decor and then switched over to Statement Designs. And I recently just moved all my inventory to a little coffee shop. And now I'm just staying where I was at the furniture. I had my inventory inside a furniture store. So I already moved mine out, but I'm just staying here to help close the store because they ring my merchandise up for me, which is a nice change for me because I've been doing retail for 10 years. So I'm kind of ready to let that part of things go and enjoy doing exactly what I really like to do, which is painting furniture and doing customs, that kind of thing. So that about sums it up.
All right, I guess I'll go next. I'm Crystal, the Crafty Creech. A lot of times people ask me where the Creech comes from. Well, that's my last name. I've been painting furniture or refinishing furniture for, about 12, 13 years now. When we bought a house, we were trying to furnish it, and I started, researching on Pinterest and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, I can do this. So I started painting my own furniture and filling our house with upcycled projects that were affordable for our family instead of going out and buying new. And it quickly became a business, and I absolutely love it. And I do all kinds of things. I dabble in a little bit of all of it. And I've really just recently, probably in the past 3 to 4 years, started getting onto the more artistic side of painting furniture and trying new techniques such as blending and texture and decoupage and transfers and things like that. And I also love to do crafts and, DIY projects altogether, home projects and things like that. So, yeah. That's it.
Okay, Kat, you're
up. I'm Kat. My last name is Savage, and my business is Owling Dog Design. And I guess originally it was a lack of funds, which happens to a lot of us, that got me into remaking things, like DIY things, but I've always been interested in the arts and have had a couple of different things along the way. And I started a YouTube channel in 2021, like when the COVID thing was going on, or the COVID. I don't know if you're supposed to say COVID on
Oh,
YouTube.
yeah.
But I was watching all these furniture artists that I loved, and I said, that looks like fun. And I was sort of working from home. I was consulting at the time, and I did very little work outside the home, and I needed to do something. So I started doing that with a YouTube channel. So that was fun. Yeah, and I like everything. I like the artistic part of it. I'm also kind of I think I can do more than I actually can. So if you say, I used to have a little thing in my intro that said, I can fix that. That's kind of how I am, right? I can do that. No problem. And then I regret it.
Yeah.
That's me.
So I see that we have 3 people watching us, and the whole idea of doing this is to have an open forum for people to ask us questions. Maybe they're getting into the business. Definitely, we can see your comments, shoot a question at us, or we are here to learn and to learn all together. And maybe you've done something or you've had experience with something that maybe we haven't, and you are more than welcome to let us know. If you don't want to do it in this setting, you can contact any 4 of us, one of us out of the 4, and let us know. And we thought tonight what we would talk about is what kind of paint do we use? Because there are so many different paints out there, and everybody's approach is different. And you do you use whatever paint that you like or you're used to, but we're just here to tell you what experience that we've had with different paint brands, the pros, the cons. So since I'm yapping here, I'll start with my favorite, of course, is going to be Dixie Belle. That was the paint that I started using when I started. And they have just the regular chalk paint. And that's usually what I use on furniture. But I know that a lot of people, and when we get to Crystal, she can talk about that, buy off-brand, just regular wall paint, and can make chalk paint out of it. So she knows the recipe for that. And on her latest video, she even taught you how to make salt wash to put in your paint so you have nice texture to your paint. Now, Dixie Belle, they have a plain chalk paint, and then they have a silk all-in-one paint, which I love because it has a top coat mixed into it. And Lavon, she'll be able to talk about it a lot better than me because she is a Dixie Belle representative. And the other paint that I've used, and I just tried it, was Paint Couture, which I got as a nice little free gift. And I did like that. I did like it. It does have an earthy smell to it, which didn't bother me at all. Just was a really nice paint. But I still prefer the Dixie Belle over that one. Another paint that I've used on furniture is Annie Sloan. Now you're talking the top of the line on this one, and it's expensive. Do I like it? Yes, I do like it. And she does make a lacquer that goes over the top, which I also liked very well. One thing, and I've seen it talked about, is different people, when they did get jars of her paint, they thought it was very watery even after they stirred it. But I did remember reading in her literature that, and you can do this with any paint, if it is like that, just leave the lid off and let some of the moisture kind of go out of it, and then your paint will thicken up. Or if it's too thick, add your water to it, but you don't want to add water to the silk paint. I think other than your basic master touch acrylics, when I'm doing something crazy, I may use those. And I believe Dixie Belle right now, they don't make Boss anymore, but they make a bonding Boss, which is actually their, help me out here. Help me out here.
Slick stick blended
Slick
with the
stick,
Boss.
because
Yeah.
I love Slick Stick. I've tried other bonding primers. They don't work on ceramic. They don't work on glass. Slick Stick did, and I love it. But I think they have now made it a combo product called Bonding Boss. Boss
Right.
is a primer that will cover up odors and stains and any bleed through. So you're kind of getting the best of both worlds in that one product. So that's my story on paint, and I'm waiting to hear what Levon has to say on that.
Okay. Well, as you mentioned, I am a retailer for Dixie Belle. I'm considered an elite retailer, which means that I carry all the products all the time. There is one line of Dixie Belle that I do not carry, though, and that's called Terra. And Terra was introduced a while back, maybe a year ago, maybe more. Now that I think about it, maybe 2 years ago. But Terra is a clay-based paint, which is similar, I would say, to DIY paint because that's a clay-based paint. I tried DIY once because the whole time that I've been doing the furniture business, pretty much right from the get-go, I started carrying paint. And it's always been Dixie Belle. So that's one time when at the same time, I bought my first IOD products. Then I also bought a jar of DIY just to give that a try. And I did like it. So there's that. The only thing I didn't really care for about that, though, is it is really so sensitive to water. It'll just reactivate so easily. So Dixie Belle will seal itself within 30 days, even if you don't put another sealer on it. And like you, Dora, I really love the silk product too, because it does have a primer as well as the top coat in it. It's a stain blocking primer, but it isn't as powerful as the Bonding Boss, like you mentioned. So if there's a danger of bleed through and you're using a light color, I would still use the additional Bonding Boss product to before even the silk. So, and also I will mention, because I've done a lot of kitchen cabinets, silk, even though it does have that sealer in it, you may also want to add additional sealer depending on the sheen that you want, and also the durability factor. It is durable. It really is. But some people like to give it a little more, several more coats of, I love satin clear coat, but when I'm doing kitchens, gator hide is also a good product. Some people have products or problems with gator hide being streaky, but they recommend that you add a drop or two of the paint in it. And Dara, you mentioned something that interested me. And I've seen other painters do it, and they've mixed silk with the chalk paint. And we were told in the beginning to never do that because there is a formula that they've developed of the silk, and you're kind of screwing up the formula when you mix that. So you may have no problem with adherence, but maybe after your piece leaves you, maybe the problems will come later down the line. So I would stick with what's recommended because they've tested this stuff, and that's how they know why. And I have to tell you a quick story. I don't want to take up all the time, but so there was, what was it? I know. So I'm an Iron Orchid Designs stockist as well. So my husband thinks that's a funny term, but he says it sounds like stalker. But anyway, um, so, I'm trying. Oh, I know what it was. So Annie Sloan did, and also Debbie Baird from DIY. They both did promotional designs for paint inlays for Iron Orchid Designs, and there was a certain release date for it, and I jumped the gun accidentally, and I posted something the day before it was supposed to be posted, and it was Annie Sloan's design, and she immediately messaged me, and she said, "Oh, please take that down. That's for tomorrow." And I'm like, "Okay," and then I'm like, Annie Sloan just messaged me, and so
She's like a celebrity.
Yeah, she is like, paint.
That'd be like Johnny Depp messaging you.
Yeah, it's like royalty, So I, ended up, we engaged in a conversation, and I told her I was a Dixie Belle retailer, and she said, we need some Annie Sloan retailers in your area. She sent me some paint, and I did a video, and I tagged her and everything in it, and I was just like, I couldn't believe it was happening.
Yeah,
it was really cool.
Yeah.
So I did like the paint, but I have to say, everything I've ever tried, Dixie Belle is my favorite. So there you have it.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'll go next. Well, when I first started, and for about 10 years, and even still now, I started out with latex wall paint. A lot of it gets a bad rap for whatever reason. But when I first started out, I was, a novice. I was practicing. I didn't want to spend a lot of money. And I would just hit that mist tint aisle at Lowe's and Home Depot, and I would use, that $2 quart of paint, and I could get, 3-4 pieces out of a $2 quart of paint, or, a gallon size of paint for $15. So I was really doing it more so as I was learning, and also for my profit margin is higher. As long as you do your prep work, your cleaning, your sanding, and your cleaning, you are going to have no problem with the latex wall paint. You can make your own chalk paint with the latex wall paint. There's so many different brands, obviously. There's only one offhand I can think of right away is the Valspar signature brand that it will not work with. When you add the plaster of Paris, it solidifies. And then there's another brand that I know for sure, but I can't think of it off the top of my head. But you just add a splash of water, plaster of Paris, and you can make your own chalk paint. It's super easy, and it's very cost effective. You can also purchase matte or flat type chalk paints, and it feels just like a chalk paint. And then, you seal it just like you would seal any other paint with polyacrylic. I use lacquer for a lot of years. It's extremely durable, but over time, I feel like I can't use it as much anymore just because of the fact that it is so caustic and it smells really bad, but because it is an oil-based finish, you're getting extreme durability out of it. I've sealed many kitchen tables with it. Much of my furniture has been sealed with lacquer in my own home, and I can't even I don't even have any watermarks or rings or anything on it. I can let my kids put their cups or pots or whatever right on top of the surface, and I have no issues. I have tons of furniture in my house that has been painted with latex paint. I have no issues with it. It's just as good as it was the day, except for, I have kids that bang into it with toys and stuff like that. So it has more dents in it, but no chipping or peeling paint. And then when I started getting more on the artistic side, I started trying different paints. I've tried a lot. Some of my favorites are Wise Owl. I really love their brand of chalk synthesis paint. It's very thick. It has really great self-leveling. I've tried the DIY paint, and I feel like that's a great paint, and I really love it. And I agree with Levon as with the, the reconstituting it with water. I feel like it has more of a learning curve. I don't feel like it's a beginner friendly type paint.
Yeah.
I don't know if you agree with me, Levon, but I don't feel like it's beginner friendly. I feel like you need to kind of have been working with paint for a while and know how to use it. So, because I had issues with it, even when I was sealing over it, that paint would wipe off. So, I had some issues with that, but I do like the paint, and I feel like it has a great bonding agent in there, and it's really thick. It's good for like more artistic type of uses and things like that. I also like the Dixie Belle. That I've tried it a couple of times and I do like it. But yeah, I think I like Paint Couture. I like that one too. Yeah. Oh, chalk country paint. I tried that one. Am I saying that right? Country chic chalk. Country chic.
Oh yeah, the country chic.
Yeah, I'm not really a huge fan of that one. So that one, I feel like it didn't seem really durable to me. So but yeah, I guess that's all I got.
Well, that's really, a good thing to know. And we didn't mention that part. You can take any of that latex paint and add that plaster of Paris to it,
Right.
and come up with your own chalk paint. That's how you make the chalk paint. And I would just say, how much plaster of Paris do you add just to your consistency of what you want your paint to be?
I'm such an eyeballer. I don't measure anything. I'm like,
Yeah, that's me too.
But, I mean, I don't know. It doesn't really matter. I guess if you want something a little bit more thicker, you're going to add more. If you want it less thick, you add less. So, I mean, and you can always add more paint if you want to thin it down and a little bit more water. So it's not something, it's not like, to me, I don't feel like I have to have it perfect to get a good result, so. And some people I've heard use calcium carbonate as well to create that chalk paint with latex wall paint as well. So I've never tried that personally myself. So.
Okay, Kat, you're up.
Yeah, I agree with you on making the chalk paints, and calcium carbonate is plaster of Paris.
Okay.
That's what that is.
Okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's a fancy word.
I gotcha. So there is probably a price difference too when you're,
Oh, yeah, I usually get it. I get it the same way you do, because I think I saw in your video that it looked like an old milk carton kind
yes.
of that. Yeah, the calcium carbonate. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Good thoughts. Yeah, I've used a lot of paints, and I'm open to trying any paint. I love trying new things, and so Dixie Belle, I've used a lot of Dixie Belle, especially when I first started out doing like a few years ago. Like most other people, I used the wall paint or cabinet paint or whatever. Benmore samples, you can get those for like $3. And you mix them with the plaster of Paris and make your own chalk paints, or not. They stay on nice even without it. I've even blended them. But if you put calcium carbonate in each thing that you're going to blend, that's what causes a really nice, soft bonding blending. So you'll see an immediate difference if you put a little bit of that in there. I've used a lot of different paints. One of the hardest things to blend is that a clay paint, a real deep clay paint. Probably not the what's the other one? DIY. I use that a lot actually in the past. I've tried it several times just because I like to give something a good shot. And I don't really like to talk about it much because I don't like to, I would never badmouth like a product in a video, you know what I mean? But since we're here, like DIY paint is beautiful and you know, like it's very opaque, very you know, it has a lot of pigment.
Pigment.
It's beautiful, goes a long way. But for the kind of stuff that I do, I would just say for the kind of furniture refinishing and anything that I paint, I want my paint to stay there. And if I'm going to sell it, I don't want the fear that someone is going to bring it back because the paint went away.
Yeah.
You know, and I've lived with some of it, like these chairs that I'm sitting on right now. Underneath, I painted them twice. The first time I painted them with the DIY paint, and it just literally like it just wore off. And no matter what kind of, I put all kinds of like I put acrylic clear over it, and then I put wax. But it doesn't matter if you sat on it. It just, you know, if you looked at it, it would just like make a little crinkle, and you see the black underneath. And so I can't use it. Yeah. But I like some of the weird paints. Like I love Hue. They have unbelievable colors and they blend like a charm. The Annie Sloan is wonderful. It's so expensive though. And I was interested in stocking it, thinking that I was going to be able to heat my barn. I ended up that I can't. It's too big of a space and it's too expensive. So I can't be a paint retailer, though I'd love to. But the Annie Sloan was thousands of dollars to stock, which is way out of my price range. But that being said, the newest paint that I just absolutely love and one of my current favorites, because it depends on what you're doing with it. If I'm doing one color, I don't think you can beat Melange 1. It's just an awesome paint to use. And the finish is like, I always put a top coat on my paint, even though it's all in one and you supposedly don't need to. I use a top coat on it. But there's just something incredible about it. And I could even like show you a couple of pieces like up in well, I can show you one piece in the shop currently that has Melange 1 paint on it. The finish is extraordinary. It's just unlike, and I like to think that my finishes are okay. You know, they're pretty good. They're fair to middling, but these are just outstanding the way they come out. And I've like sold them to people who really like work them hard and they lasted so far. So that's a good thing. But the kasha paint, furniture paint, that stuff is incredible. Number one, it's inexpensive.
Really?
Number two, it ships for free.
What?
There is no one who will ship you. You can get one can of paint for free shipping.
No. Wow.
And if you take your stirrer, you know, and you put it in your paint and just leave it there, it sits there. It's like pudding, and it makes you want to literally like, I could eat this stuff. It's so good. But yeah, and the white paint almost covers in one coat. Now it doesn't, because you need to use two. But how many times have you used 3, even 4 coats
Oh,
of
yeah.
the white and off-white, very light paints? And it glows. It just has like a finish and the blending. It's super easy to blend. The black paint that I've used in Kasha paint is the blackest paint that I've ever used. It's like going
True
into
black.
a
Like
black hole. It's completely black. It's not blue black. It's not purple. It's not red. It is black, black, black.
wow.
I've never seen anything like it.
You sold me at free shipping. I'm trying it.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to give it a whirl.
I wish I could remember how much it was, but it's, I don't know, is it like 21 or something like that for, a good size container? I got Annie Sloan paint. I ordered it 2 different colors because I really, really wanted to try it on furniture, the chalk paint. And she invented chalk paint.
Mm-hmm.
And $17 each, and then you pay for shipping in these little tiny cans.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Like, you kidding me? All I could
paint a chair.
Yeah, I painted this little table, little round table, and and her wall paint. I bought that and I painted my bedroom, and the wall paint is extraordinary. It's just beautiful, and I've used Farrow and Ball and Benjamin Moore to paint, interiors. And her paint is right up there. It's right up there with Farrow and Ball, I would say. The old Farrow and Ball, because they were bought out by another company, I think in Norway or something like that. They're not the British company anymore.
I see.
So I guess really sometimes whatever project you're working on, sometimes the project might dictate what paint you really want to use.
Yeah.
And if
I
you're going
can
to
add,
go ahead, and if you notice on Crystal's last video, she did her own salt wash, just using salt, which you can in your paint to give you chunks.
Right.
I used Bentonite clay that I just purchased from Amazon. It was like $4 a bag, and that's probably going to last me for a really long time. And the one thing I want to say, if you go that route, putting the Bentonite clay in there, I was trying to chip that paint off to give it that chippy look, and I have never had such hard paint to chip off when I added that Bentonite clay in there. So if you want something to stick on,
Have
just
you ever
put a little
put
bit
that
of that
stuff
in
on
there.
your face for a face mask? Ouch! It's very hard.
Yeah, it has instructions for that on there.
wow.
So you just add that.
So
If I may add something about a different kind of paint too, I had an experience where I had someone contact me. She's a painter, and she had a client that she was going to do her dining room set for, and she was unable to do the job, and she asked me if I would do it. And she had already purchased the paint, and it was Jolie. So I will say I liked that paint a lot, and their finish, their sealer, they call it a lacquer, but it didn't have. I don't know that it's oil based, but it was great. I really liked it. So I have to say I like that paint as well. So
has anybody ever tried the Fusion brand? And if you have, what do you think about it?
I have not.
Okay. I have tried it, and for me, it was very thin. And it wasn't really my favorite. I didn't really care for that one. I don't know if we have anybody watching right now. I'm just curious if they have tried it before and what their thoughts are on it, or what their thoughts are on any paints that they have tried or things that we've mentioned. Have you tried Fusion, Kat? Have you tried Fusion brand?
Yes. But I think I only had one can. I just picked it up somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
because I love buying paint. It's like,
I know. I have to tell myself, no more paint. Yeah, I have to stop. Like I have to use this paint. Like it's so bad. It's like an addiction.
You never know when you're gonna need it.
I'm kind of spoiled because I always just have the shelf to go to get it. Like it's at the store. But now that I have my paint somewhere else, now I have to be more mindful of what I need because I have to go get it now, not just out off the shelf.
So we have 6 people in the house watching us today. I want to thank everybody for stopping in, and we're hoping to keep this going because it's all about learning. We welcome questions. We welcome your input. Every day, if you don't learn something new, then I guess that's not really a good day because I learn something every day.
Every day?
Every day.
Let's
Let's talk about
we
inks.
have a lot of fun doing this.
Yeah.
Let's talk about inks like StazOn or IOD with stamps. A little bit different than paint, but a lot of times we're using that with our paints. I've tried the IOD. Maybe I could just pull one out here and show you guys so you know what we're talking about here.
I gotta say, I have never used ink on my stamps. I've used glaze, and that's it.
So, like IOD, they have their own line, and it kind of looks like this with their IOD logo. And then there's another brand called StazOn, and I know it's backwards. Maybe it's not. I don't know. I was pointing last time and it looked right when we were all in the house here. But then when I looked at the video later, I wasn't even pointing at the right person. So I give that whole thing up.
I know.
I've tried both these inks, and I'm gonna get with Levon on this one. I think I like the StazOn better because it follows its name, StazOn.
Yeah.
I've used this on glass, ceramic, anything. When I put something over the top of it, like a top coat, my paint might run, but the StazOn stays on. Now, I don't know about the IOD, or even like I've seen people take like their pad. Like if you have a stamp and then you want to stamp it, but I've seen people take their pads and just like run it along the edge of a piece of furniture, just to give that darkened edge. But I do prefer the StazOn. I maybe have not given the IOD brand enough of a chance yet, but I love all the other IOD products. So I don't know. What do you think about that IOD type?
Well, I love it. It is permanent. So the only other brand that I've ever tried was Distressed Ink. And it's fine for paper goods, like if you're doing, journaling or something like that. And I do love the colors that they have. But if you're doing furniture, it'll smear every single time if you put a sealer over top of it. But the IOD does not. You can also use the Iron Orchid designs on fabrics as well, and heat set them. And they're permanent that way too, and on clothing as long as you heat set them. But yeah, I've never tried StazOn, but I will say that I watch a lot of YouTubers and they all, a lot of people use it and they agree with your assessment.
Well, I just need to give IOD, another chance. I started off with some gold with it, and I was not real impressed. It wasn't giving me the gold that I wanted to.
Well, IOD doesn't have gold, so maybe
there I am again. See, look I did the same thing I did last time. I was saying I used gold from IOD. It's got to be some other brand here.
I wish they would come out with gold. I really
It
do.
is. It's redesigned by Prima.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
So, okay, well, now we know. But yeah, I really wish they would come out with a gold.
Yeah.
And I do that, what you said about taking the stamp pad. I'll use my Amazon gift card and my phone. You know, I do that a lot with paper, but I've never really used that technique along the edge of furniture, but that's a good idea.
On the edge of smalls too. Like if you have your picture frames and you can just go around the edge of your picture frame, you know, around the top of a rim of a glass or a vase or something like that. Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
What inks have you used, Kat?
Not a lot, not a lot. And it's one of the things that I don't use a lot of. I almost always stencil and stamp with paints, and which is, I know is difficult to do. And but I think the inks that I've used, I have tried Distress ink, and I believe I have some of the stays on, and maybe sometimes the inks that I'm buying are like some other brand from Amazon that you probably wouldn't even recognize. Because I like to get, I have one in green that I love. It's like an olive green. It's really pretty. And it does stay on. But I treat them differently. I've never tried heat setting them, which is a really good thing to do when you think about it. But I use like an acrylic spray or even shellac just to set it so I can touch it with, you know, a clear coat or another, whatever I'm doing, you know, wax or you have to be careful because you don't know how it's going to react. But I know how the paint is going to react. So I just, I'll put paint in a something that has absorption in it, like a paper plate or a piece of cardboard, something that will absorb some of the paint. And I spread it out on there until it gets kind of tacky. And that's how I do a lot of my stamping, is I use it that way.
Do you lay the stamp down in that paint then, or do you use a brush or a brayer?
No, I put it right on that wet surface, but it has to be really dry. It has to be really dry. And I have done it where I had to, you know, take it off and paint over it and do it again. So,
if I may say a word on that, the IOD sisters always say that, you know, if you want really you know, a lot of clarity in the stamp, then your best bet is to use the ink. You're gonna, because especially IOD stamps really are, as the molds and everything, so much detail. So you do get the best clarity using ink. But I will say too, there's times when I want more a certain color or, you know, a thicker line, but I use a brayer when I do that, because the brayer, I mean, you don't have to let the paint like dry up a little bit. You can use it wet. You just have to be super careful to make sure, that it's even on the brayer. And then, you know, if you're getting any excess paint on the stamp, that you're wiping that off with a wet wipe or something before you apply it. But, you know, I do have to say I like both.
I like on a piece of furniture, sometimes I like things to be a little bit more organic. But if I'm doing smalls, I like to use ink because it's, you know, if you're I don't do it very often, but I've done a little bit of like farmhouse, and you take your, you know, vases or jars or whatever, and you want to put like a little, like a stamp cafe. I have these things there. I want to say it's redesigned with Prima. I'm pretty sure. And it might be called Paris Cafe or something. And it has all the little stamps that you would use, like, you know, to do that kind of work. And I would prefer ink, because if you use paint that way, it's not good to have it organic looking.
Yeah.
You need it to be clear.
Right.
Yeah.
The only
What
thing
about
I've
you,
ever used-
Crystal?
I've only ever used the glaze and with my stamps. And I like it, but I find it to be slippery.
Yeah.
So I a lot of times I just have to wipe it off and start again. So
Right.
but that's all I have to say about the stamps.
Yeah, I've tried the ink and using paint, and I think I kind of can identify with what Kat's saying is when I'm thinking that I had to have that paint thinner, like how the ink goes on your stamp, then they were always really smudgy.
Yeah.
If I let that paint get thick and used a bit of thicker paint on there, I mean, not that it's really globbed on there, but just a heavier, sticky paint, still
Yeah.
using a brayer. I've used a brayer and I've put it on.
It's a
I've
good
had better
idea.
luck doing it that way than real watery paint. I just don't think the
Right.
watery paint does real well on the stamps. You're better if it's thick and sticky. That's
Yeah.
my opinion. I don't know.
Yeah, I know. I agree. I agree.
Were you done, Kat? Okay. One other thing I wanted to say about colors with ink. See, Kat, you mentioned that you had an olive color that you really liked, and so when I tried those distressed ink, they did have tremendous colors, I have to admit, and they had these little, things, little pads, and they were cute and they were really great again to work with paper stuff. But IOD does have mixing. They call their white mixing white, so you can tone down colors and make lighter shades. And they sell the bottles that you can, apply to the blank stamp pads. So, like when you buy,
That.
yeah. So some of the other ones, like I don't know about Stays On, but like, do you buy the color and it's already inked up the pad?
The pad, yeah. Because
Okay.
I don't
Yeah.
use it a lot, so I probably have about 7 ink pads of different colors.
So with IOD, they sell the blank pads, the mixing bottles, and the jars or the bottles of ink separate. All that's separate. So that maybe might give
That's a good
little
option.
more variety.
Yeah.
And also one more thing, I keep saying things, but they also say store your ink pads, they all lock together, but store them upside down, because then the ink is closer to the surface of the, and they also say for every project, re-ink your pad.
And I cover them too. I
Yeah.
keep them like in a plastic wrap. So
Yeah.
that they're
Try out.
enclosed.
Well, see, I learned something new today. Wow.
Then it's a good day.
It is a good day. I learned a lot from you guys already this evening.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm wondering if we have anybody that has any questions, because, I thought about something while we were talking, like when you're watching YouTube and you're watching people who are doing tutorials or just saying what they like to do, then you're observing, you're learning something. But here's the 4 of us who have all, saying we've been painting for years, and, we're talking about it and not doing any demonstration, except for Dar, you hold products up every now and then. But I mean, I'm just wondering if, if our message, I guess, is being understood or getting through to some people. If you have questions, that's what we're here for.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
Well, when we get really good at doing this yard stream stuff, because if you go back and you look at us at the beginning, it was quite miraculous how we got to the point that we're finally at. But there is a way that we could add clips and videos into our podcasts.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
I'll try to get there. In between everything else, I'll try to get there so we can do that.
Yeah, I think there's a little thing down at the bottom that says present. So I think we could do that.
That's right.
Yeah. We have
And
to
we, of
practice
course,
when we're
would like
not
to
on
have some
live.
guests on sometime when they feel they'd like to participate in our program. And
That would be great.
I
just
know. We have
if
to
you'd like to be
tell
on here and you know any one of us, or if you don't know us, let us
Yeah.
find out who you are and we'll see what you do. And maybe we would be very interested in hearing how you do your craft, because we always want to learn new things and we're always trying new things.
Absolutely. It'd be fun to have, you know, people that don't do exactly what we do, which would be kind of fun too, you know.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
So let's talk about stamps really quick. And then, nope, I'm not talking about stamps. We're talking about something else. We're going to talk about what was a really great suggestion by Levon.
Ooh.
What inspired you to become a flipper?
Yeah.
What really inspired you to start with this? Some of you guys keyed in a little bit on why you became a flipper. Myself, I started watching Flea Market Flip on TV, and I think that's what lit my fire to say, hey, that looks like a lot of fun. I want to try that. I'm retired. I was retired at the time. Maybe looking for a way for another income, which so far that's not happened, and it's been a few years. But hey, that's okay, because this art is good for your soul, your heart, your anxiety, and it just helps all along the way. And then I met all these lovely ladies, and Levon was having a challenge, and she had a lady by the name of Lel from Made by Marley on. And when I started looking at Lel from Made by Marley and what she was doing, I completely found my home, because I just don't want to paint furniture. I'm an artist, and I'll take and do some of the craziest things. And I just love the art part of it.
Crazy
So
good.
that's why I did. We have Gretchen.
Yes.
She
I
said,
wanted
I've
to do
learned a
that.
lot and will be saving this so that it can refer back later. I'm not doing much but repairing broken furniture right now. Oh, we all been there. Love listening to you talk about all of this. Well, thank you, Gretchen. You're such a
Yeah.
sweetheart. That makes it worth it, even if we can hit one person that,
We love you, Gretchen. We love
Yeah.
you.
Dar, if you click on her, it will go across the screen.
if I click on her.
You're the only one that has that, I believe.
You have the power, Dar.
Power. There you
There,
go.
Gretchen.
Woo-hoo, look at that. See, Gretchen, you taught me something today. It's a good day. I learned something.
That's right.
Awesome. I did not know that, Kat.
Yeah, you did it well. We have to practice doing those. I don't know
Okay,
why
we have to find out what inspired you to be a flipper, Levon.
Well, so like you guys mentioned before, Crystal, you mentioned about the paint. It kind of came out of poverty. That was like the same motivation for me. Like when I was a young homemaker, it was like, I need to do something with this, and I don't have much money, so I was always looking for budget friendly ways to do decor. And then so I started with the design business. And Dar, like you, I was watching, well, you were watching Flea Market Flip, and I was just like addicted to HGTV. And the problem with that is, though, once I got in the business, it was like I thought everything was finished in a half hour. It doesn't work that way. I had a bad misconception about how long everything took, because in my mind, I still am able to look at something and go, well, this will go here and that'll go there, and we'll paint this, and this, and like people are going, what? And that was something that I needed to learn when I first started, was how to get what's in here on a paper or a tablet or something, so that they could see, what I was talking about.
Right.
But the painting part of it, so when I was younger, like much younger than being a young homemaker, I used to go sketch and do stuff like that. I was always kind of artistic. But then when I started selling the paint, that's when it all happened. It was like people would give me furniture, and then it became my canvas, and that's really just how that all got started. And that's my story.
Yeah.
Okay, Crystal, you're up.
Same thing. Basically, I just needed to furnish my house, and I needed to do it cheap because I couldn't afford new furniture. So, but eventually I started selling everything, and people loved it. I loved it. I've always been really artsy and craftsy. I took a couple years of art in high school. I don't have any college education, but I became a mom pretty much right after high school, and it's a great outlet. It's like the best thing to do to relieve stress, to just be in your own space, be in your own head, and just I love it. It's like my favorite thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
How about you, Kat?
I've had a lot of people say to me, you can't paint that. And whenever somebody tells me I can't do
Them straight words.
I have to do it. But the first furniture I ever painted was a couple of, and I've told you this before, I think, a couple of old antique wooden beds, and they were beautiful. I got them when the kids were kind of small. In fact, my youngest had just come out of a crib, and I needed to have, beds for both of them, and they were almost the same age. And these were wooden beds, and they were made with square wooden slats in the headboard and footboard, and then the each part of the headboard and then the footboard was actually formed so that it kind of came around in a U shape. And they were really nice, but they were formidable looking. They were really high metal. I had to cover the metal with as much plastic stuff that I could and everything because I didn't want the kids to cut themselves on the metal. And they were scary looking, especially for little kids. They just didn't look warm and fuzzy, So I said to them, I'll paint them any color you want. You tell me what you want. Mommy will paint them for you. And so Tommy chose, they were so cute. Tommy chose to have the body of the bed like a light blue. And then each slat was a different pastel color. And it was really sweet when it was put together. It was just the cutest thing. And it did look like a kid's bed. And then Colin chose yellow and white. And the way he wanted his was he wanted one face of the square wood to be yellow and the other face, at the 45 to be white, so that when you looked at it, it would have like a different
that's cool
thing. And they both turned out so cute. I just kind of fell in love with that, but I painted those.
Sounds like Levon's dream with all those slats.
Yeah.
Spindles.
I painted my kitchen floor.
Wow.
I painted my cabinets, which were these old Formica things, right? And the Formica was chipping off, so I just peeled it off, and all that was left was the MDF underneath. So I painted that. I found an old dresser, and that was probably one of my first. The kids' beds were artistic, but I took an old piece of furniture. Again, people said, you can't paint that. It's like ugly. And I said, but yeah, I think I will. So I took apart a kitchen closet because I just didn't. I needed more space, and I needed to be kind of inventive in my last kitchen. It was really small, and I just didn't have enough room. And so I did a lot of really funky stuff in there to create like hanging space and shelf space and shelves where there weren't any. And I took this old dresser and I fitted it in my closet. And then I built like a top, butcher block top for the top of it. And then I actually built shelves that were only really attached to the walls, but it looked like it was part of the set of drawers once it was in there. But that chest of drawers I did gray, and then I used a glaze, my nemesis, which is glaze. With Colin's instruction, I glazed it, and it came out really beautiful. And see these handles right here? Can you see these?
The cup holes. Yeah.
Yeah, they're cup holes, like a glass cup hole.
Yeah.
I literally, I did that kitchen so right before I moved here, so I never really got to fully enjoy it. I like refashioned the whole kitchen and then sold the house and moved here. And so I said, but I really love those handles. And I have to have them. So when I designed this kitchen, I actually got to do a true renovation. Anyway, that's where that idea came from, was that. But it came out so nice, the gray and the black glaze. And I painted my countertop, and I did a faux soapstone top, and it literally looked like soapstone. I did layers of white streaks through it and everything. It didn't look like granite. It looked like the old lab tops that you used to work, inside.
So it sounds like the same thing. That was kind of what started your whole obsession with painting furniture, was, you started working on things for yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Same thing with design. I loved pretty things. I've always loved nice stuff. I mean, that's part of being female, I think. We love to make things beautiful and to make things functional. And I love to cook, and I needed space and I needed organization. So I had to be kind of inventive about it. It was fun. I learned a lot, and then started doing design, interior design.
Nice.
Yeah.
I think you summed it up, Crystal, by saying an obsession. I think we're all obsessed.
I know.
I think it's going to be a lifelong thing.
Yeah.
For the rest of my life, because it's where I find it's my happy place.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we are over an hour, and pretty much everybody is stuck with. We've gone up to 6 viewers. We were at 7, so that's really good. Gretchen,
thank you, Gretchen.
She's got to leave. Yep, we're ready to wrap it up anyway,
Bye,
Gretchen. Thank you so much for stopping in and visiting with us.
And everybody else.
We'll be here next week. How many people are going to be here next week? Raise your hand. Okay, so all 4 of us are going to be here next Wednesday. Come up with some topics that maybe you would like to ask us. Otherwise, I think it's been a great discussion.
Yeah,
Anybody else have anything else to say?
I learned things, so that's good, right?
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
Tell your friends next week so that.
So, if we don't have anything else to say, we'd like to say thank you, and we will see you next Wednesday.
Yeah,
See you later,
everyone.
ladies.
Thank you all.
Bye.
Bye.